is 6 o'clock on Monday, June 29th, and we are going to move into the special called meeting. Just a reminder, for the public hearing tonight, it is specifically speaking on the fire district tax rates. Every other topic will have to wait for public comment at our next meeting. Thank you for being here. We have our consent agenda in front of us, the budget amendment. There is a motion to pass that or discussion. We can move.
Madam Chair, move to approve the consent agenda as approved, as presented.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we are going to move into the public hearing.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I have a comment to make before you do that, if you don't mind. I'd like to take a moment and apologize to the Lee County staff. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, certainly the record will show what the date was, we had public comments that, in my opinion, stooped below what was certainly intended and anticipated for the public comment period. I think a lot of the staff was mislabeled and an issue brought to the table that involved perhaps bringing the state auditor in. I feel that this board should revisit our public comment policy, and in those instances where a person strays from any factual complaints, and if they have complaints, there's a process by which they should use and not batter and try and intimidate our staff. I think the board ought to address this issue in our policy, and hopefully, if needed, I'll offer a motion to do so, not at this time, but in the future, that we review public comments and what's allowable and what's not. It's not fair to have people accused of anything wrongdoing, especially, and not be able to defend themselves. We, the board, ought to protect the staff, and that's what I am apologizing to the staff for that very reason. Things have been so different in the last 10 years that you become numb, and we ought to be more respectful for the people that provide us a good service. So if you will allow a motion to visit this in our policy, I'm offering one at this time.
Thank you. Are we able to do a motion now, or do we?
Maybe July 13th is a special call meeting. We can put it on as since today is a special call meeting, we can put it on as an agenda item at our July 13th meeting.
So be it. Thank you.
So we will move into the public hearing. I have Drew Womble. If you would please come forward, state your name and address. Oh, I have to open the public hearing. Drew, would you give me a moment, please? I'm out of order.
No, stay there,
You
stay
can
there, stay there.
I just
Just stay there for a second.
So, here it is. I'm going to open the public hearing. Drew Womble.
All right, my name is Drew Womble. I reside at 8613 Peachtree Drive in Sanford. Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. As I look through this year's fire department budget request, one thing really stood out. Almost every fire department is asking for a significant increase in funding. And the common justification is the need for more staffing. At the same time, Deep River Fire Department has continued to improve its service, maintain its ISO rating, invest in new equipment, and serve its community without asking for the same level of increase. That tells me we need to take a closer look at what is actually driving these requests. The question I keep coming back to is simple. Where is the demonstrated need? We are being told that additional staffing is necessary, but when you look at call volumes, most departments are averaging less than one call per day. In fact, one department responded to 111 calls in all of 2025. That's roughly one call every 3 days. If we're asking taxpayers to fund additional personnel, we should be able to clearly demonstrate why those positions are needed. The data should support that request. Otherwise, we're asking people to pay for more without a measurable return. Deep River Fire Department is proof that there are ways to strengthen a department without relying solely on paid staffing. Today, we have 36 volunteer members, Through a strong culture, active recruitment, and a focus on retaining volunteers, we've built a department that consistently responds with the manpower needed to serve our community. In fact, we routinely respond automatically with Moncure Fire Department, not because they need our equipment, but because they know we can provide the personnel to help get the job done. If other departments in Lee County are struggling with recruitment and retention, we're more than willing to share what's worked for us. We should be collaborating and learning from each other before assuming that hiring more paid staff is the only viable solution. I also think it's time we stop using ISO ratings as the primary measure of success. An ISO rating is important, but it only measures the department's ability to respond to structure fires. Structure fires only make up less than 10% of the calls all departments respond to each year. The other 90% include medical emergencies, vehicle accidents, rescues, hazardous conditions, and public service calls. If we're evaluating staffing needs, we should be looking at the full picture of what today's fire service actually does, not just one small piece of it. Which brings me to the Fire Advisory Board. I've served on that board since 2020. And I believed its purpose was to help move the fire service forward by providing recommendations to commissioners, improving accountability, and establishing higher standards across all departments. During my time on the board, Lee County invested in a comprehensive fire study to evaluate our fire service and identify opportunities for improvement. Interestingly, that study found that 51% of the citizens who responded were very satisfied with the service they receive. That's something every department should be proud of, but not the purpose. But the purpose of the study wasn't simply to tell us what we're doing well, it's to identify where we could do better. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, that study has resulted in virtually no meaningful changes. We haven't implemented significant recommendations, we haven't established higher performance standards, and we haven't created meaningful accountability measures. We haven't fundamentally improved how we evaluate service delivery. Instead, we've largely continued to do things the way they've always been done. Now you're being asked to approve substantial budget increases, primarily for staffing, without first addressing any of the recommendations we already paid professionals to identify. Before asking taxpayers to spend millions more, shouldn't we first ask why the recommendations from the fire study haven't been implemented? Shouldn't we establish measurable performance standards so we can demonstrate exactly what taxpayers are receiving for their investment? I had also served as chairman of the Fire Advisory Board, and during a discussion of the proposed tax, for the proposed flat tax, despite serving as chairman, I wasn't informed of that proposal until minutes before the meeting. A proposal of that kind of financial impact deserved discussion, transparency, and input from the advisory board, but it was never brought before the board. That experience made it clear to me that the Fire Advisory Board was not being used as the advisory body it was intended to be. Because of that, I have decided I will not be seeking another term on the Fire Advisory Board. I care deeply about the fire service in Lee County. I've been in it for almost 20 years now, and I want every department to succeed. It's not about criticizing one department. It's about accountability, collaboration, and responsible stewardship of taxpayer funds. Success is not measured by how much money we spend. It's measured by how effectively we serve our communities. Before we ask taxpayers to pay more, we owe them measurable standards, transparent decision-making, and evidence that additional funding is truly necessary. We should expect staffing requests to be supported by call volume and operational demand. We should expect recommendations from professional studies to be implemented, and we should expect our advisory boards to function as they were intended. And we should also be willing to learn from departments that are succeeding, whether it's through volunteer recruitment, member retention, operational efficiency, or financial stewardship. If we do those things, our fire service, our firefighters, and most importantly, the citizens of Lee County will all be better served. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the public hearing?
Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a motion that this gentleman's concerns be addressed by the Fire Advisory Board, and with the expectation that they give a response to this board to see how it was handled. You know, in fairness to the fire departments, the public needs to understand when a budget director's meeting is held, they have a duty to be responsive if they've got concerns. Otherwise, I understand how some of these things get handled. You do what you think is best for the community. But it also provides every taxpayer an opportunity to come in and speak their mind regarding what they see as this gentleman has done. And for that reason, I offer the motion to refer it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, you want me to read it? Do you want to read the motion? I think the motion is to respond, have the Fire Advisory Board respond to Mr. Womble's
That's correct. That's
comments.
correct.
Thank you.
If I could add to that, Madam Chair, just to note that that was one of the things that we're moving forward. And I understand Jennifer and I are planning on getting together later this month, initiate that, and put into place for the rest of the year, a meeting every night, or excuse me, every month for the Fire Advisory Board.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Reeves. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And if I could add one more thing, as Commissioner Reeves pointed, each of the boards of directors for the fire departments are supposedly involved in the budgeting process, so they too are informed. I'm just not sure how their public hearings go and what their attendance is, but it is part of their process.
Yeah, well, in fairness to them, once you post the notice about the budget meeting, hearings, it's not their job to try and get people to come. You have to be interested enough to look after your own best interests. And that's not their fault. They're dealing with what they know, not what people think they ought to be doing. And that's unfair to the fire departments, to the volunteers.
Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing? Please come forward and share your name and address.
My name is Keely Porridge, 363 Angel Road. In northwest Columbus, Ohio, Jerome Township, fire calls to Amazon Data Center has been 2 incidents a month, 84 times in 4 years. One of the fires lasted over 30 hours, and all local resources were used during those hours, and over 50 million in damages. Why am I talking about this? Because of our Applied Data Center. Has Tri-River met with the fire department before writing a letter for the DC application? Other areas are limiting the number of batteries. They would limit the quantity of flammables from off-gassing. Lithium ions and chemical hazards due to these thermal runways require specialized equipment and training. It doesn't sound like you're taking information from the fire board, so this is something new that they would have to understand and learn, and would our county be ready for this? Hazard mitigation analysis has been created. It's called a HMA, by reviewing our local resources and reviewing the training. I hope we go forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chad Deal, 2448 Hickory House Road. I am the fire chief of Tramway. Excuse the way I look. I've been working and I didn't have time to go home and change clothes. But as a public hearing we've had every year, nobody comes. They only come when they're outraged and somebody put a bug in their ear for something. So I do agree that it is the community that needs to come out and support our budgets. But again, our board goes through our budgets and we talk, yes, we got an expansion going, but again, it's just like the county officials. They need compensation, and unfortunately, that comes with a cost. With that cost is insurance, retirement, and our retirement ain't that great because I only got, a couple full-time employees, so I can't offer them a 401k. All I can offer is a simple IRA. So that limits me to what I can put into that too. So if I'm not competitive in pay, Apex, they just put a Facebook post out, lateral hire, $68,000 a year, starting pay, municipality benefits. I can't compete with that. So how am I supposed to retain if I don't give them a little incentive somewhere locally? So, but our board is active, and again, I will throw it out there. My board, myself, we're open to meeting with any of y'all at any time you'd like to. All you gotta do is call me, and my board will sit down and talk with you and tell you where we're going in the future. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
How you doing? David Nance, 2668 Steel Bridge Road. I'm the Pocket Fire Chief. Been fire chief 21 years, been in fire service 44 years. To answer your question on, as Commissioner Reeves said, and he's 100% correct about the public hearings. Do we have our budgets? Nobody shows up for them. You advertise them, nobody shows up. It's just the members. Most of the time, we eat that night and discuss it and go on about our business. As some of the comments Mr. Womble made now, as being the lowest funded fire department in this county and have been for 42 years, our budget request is not based on employees. We got the least amount of employees of any other one, but we got one of the largest staffing of volunteer men and women. We got 41 members. We provide the exact same service as every other fire department in this county, from fire, first responder, wreck calls, everything, trees in the road, helping the sheriff's office, helping EMS, we do all of that. There's no difference. Our increase has nothing to do with manpower. Our increase is the overall cost. If you sit back and really look at those numbers close tonight, you'll see there's a big difference between us and the next lowest person, which is Deep River, and there's a substantial amount of difference between us. And it's not our fault. It's we don't have the industry in our district, the commercial in our district. The most commercial we have is churches, and churches don't pay taxes to us. So, we don't have no big, massive housing developments coming, and we don't want no data center in our district, but, that's where we struggle. I've talked to several of y'all on this board. That's where we struggle for our funding, because we don't have the money, income off of businesses and industry.
You don't have the same tax base.
Right, we don't, that's correct, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not proud of it. Our board, we argued over this, and we discussed it, we had soul searching, and finally we said, we're having to pay the tax too, but, tonight, if y'all approve the budget, we will have the highest fire tax in the county. There's nothing we can do about that, unless, like Ms. Minner presented a couple of years back, unless unified tax comes into play. That's the way the ball game's gonna have to bounce for us. That's, I just wanted to point that out. Thank you much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak with fire tax?
Madam Chair, I offer a motion to approve the budgets as recommended.
I'll close the public hearing, and then we'll move
Oh,
into
all right.
that. Public hearing is closed.
That was quick.
So can we have a motion to waive the policy?
So moved.
All in favor of waiving the policy?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then we'll take your motion.
Move to approve the request.
Motion to approve the budget request.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the social services legislative update. I know that this was a request. Do we, sir?
I'd like to comment on that. I made that request because I feel that it's important that the local board get a brief description of what we're subject to be faced with. I've often said federal and state governments passing everything they can down to local government. They want to force us into raising our local taxes to pay for things that they ought to be contributing to. And now they're setting up a board that, I guess they call it oversight board, to investigate child welfare cases. That's a bit much, because they get to decide how it's handled. We get the charge of being responsible for seeing that things are done the correct way, but no financial support from, not enough financial support from the state. So if the assistant county manager will give a brief description, I'd like for us to take the material and not try to debate it tonight, but to merely hear her explanation and come back at a later date as the General Assembly will allow to discuss it.
Thank you. If you would give us a brief overview. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Certainly. So, as Commissioner Reeves mentioned, there is a current legislation a current bill that's moving very fast. It has passed unanimously in the House. It is now in the Senate, and it's related to a child fatality out of Mecklenburg County. So what it is doing is it's creating an escalated review process where the recommendation is to hire only 6 staff at DHHS to oversee this escalated review process and $100,000 in non-recurring funds. And so this process will be based on any case that is deemed high risk for child welfare with extensive case history. So in my opinion, that doesn't meet the need of what the state is going to require the counties to go through this process. In addition, they are also looking at having North Carolina Department of Justice look at how they can take the liability off the state and pass it to the county anytime a county system is deemed not to be in compliance with this legislation. So in a nutshell, that's a summary of the bill. And so what we would recommend is that the recommendation would be to truly, because they are looking at centralizing, they are studying centralizing all child welfare programs, meaning it being state supervised, state administered, which would be a significant shift and a concern that we would need to have at the county level based on how we would deliver these services. And so Ms. McMiller and I have gotten together to look at what would be our recommendations to address the issues that are currently going on in child welfare. And really, we need the General Assembly to adequately fund DHHS at the state level so that we have staff that can, at DHHS, train and be responsible for training, provide technical assistance, oversight, appropriate oversight, making sure that the training responsibilities goes back to and pushes back to the state once they are adequately staffed, and so that training is consistent across all 100 counties. And so really, this is something that is moving really fast. It's also something that we really need to watch and be mindful of. Centralization is huge in the state of North Carolina, and what that looks like is to be determined. But the county really needs to pay attention in that the state only funds 3% of the cost to administer child social services programs in general now. The counties usually foot 40 to 60%, depending on the program, of the monies to deliver those programs. And so I was asked to just give a brief explanation. What you have attached is the bill and the association's position or information on that bill. And so it would really we really need to be ahead of this and in front of this and being very specific to say the state needs to adequately fund at the state level and the county's level in order to administer these programs effectively, and then provide the training so that it's consistent in all 100 counties, and the quality assurance and the technical assistance. And they need to be in the counties monitoring the counties and the workload, which in some programs is just not happening consistently.
So what's your recommendation for getting ahead of the game?
So if it is the pleasure of the board, it would be helpful for staff develop, I would say for staff to develop a letter of recommendations to address the current issues within the child welfare system. We have to keep in mind that social services administers many programs other than Child Protective Services. That is one small program that we administer. And so to make this kind of transition and this reaction based on one program, we need systemic change. We need it, but it's going to have to start at the state level, and they're going to have to support the state, and the state's going to have to be able to provide technical assistance and training.
So you're asking specifically for the board to consider for a directive to the staff to prepare a letter?
Of the resources we need, yes, ma'am. I think that would be a good start to get ahead of this, yes.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I feel like you need to go ahead and prepare that document as we review what you've already provided us.
Okay.
But in addition to that, while I'm speaking, the fire chief from the Tramway made the very point that concerns me most about the General Assembly being involved. We become our workforce becomes a target. They pick you off. This is going to be a problem for 100 counties. It's already a problem in 100 counties. It's only going to get worse because there's no funding to support the people that we really need and the cost of paying them. This is a serious matter. And what you do is you wind up losing your own staff, then you become a target for state investigative team because you have a shortage. And when you have that shortage, you put children and families in danger. And that's what we're dealing with. Peer pressure coming from above down to this level, forcing you to look at your own tax rate and do something about staffing your departments. It's the oldest trigger in the book.
Angelina, would it be fair to say, yeah, I've had experience with Child Protection Services before, and when a Child Protection Services individual is trying to take a child from a family, it can be an all-day event. Going to court, going to the house, having them checked out. So, I would support what Commissioner Reeves is saying. It takes a lot of staff, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It does. And with this bill specifically, it's going to create an additional process that the county has to comply with, but not just the county, the state does. And so if the state is screening in this team, every single report that has what they deem extensive CPS history, it's going to be extremely taxing on the state level. And I cannot imagine how 6 staff members are going to be able to support this additional, and that's at the state level. So the state's in the same position we are in with not having enough staff to provide the services.
Did you say a total of 6 on this team?
6.
And you figure 1 is going to be at the head, the other 5 will have to divide the 100 counties, which is 20 counties apiece. That's ridiculous. You know that's already a recipe for failure. But what's most important is every county that has experienced staff will be a target. And guess what the remedy is? We'll pay you more money, as the chief said. How's he going to match $68,000? I mean, it's going to happen internally as well. People are going to start paying to have experienced folks on the job. And if you're not paying attention, that's what you're gonna become the victim of. I'm sorry that the public is not responsible for tracking all this stuff, but they give that assignment to us. We rely on the kind of information you're bringing forward. This is not a joke, folks. The world has changed quite a bit. Responsibilities have changed quite a bit. And pressure without money is a horrible thing to have to deal with.
If I understand correctly, you would like to direct Angelina and her team to move forward with preparing that.
That's correct. And make sure, this is where your delegation is gonna be so important. If you have a weak delegation, you're gonna be in even more trouble. Yes, I'm saying our delegation, whoever it is, you will have to stay on top of it. Otherwise, you become the target, the weakest link in the chain. So, yes, so make sure they're informed and send the same information, just to be on file.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other FY '27 budget items that we'd like to discuss? We will move into closed session.
I move we go into closed session per NC General Statute 143-318.11A4 to discuss matters relating to location expansion of a business. Thank you.
So I believe this time we will stay meeting in this area, correct? And so we'll need to ask the public to leave. Thank you. Do we need a motion to move into?
So you need to vote.
A motion to move into closed session? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear you. I'm just asking for clarification on what you're saying. Are you asking for, you've asked the manager to?
2,500 each to those two projects.
I would not be in agreement with that, but I hear what you're saying, and that's why I'm asking. Is
I'm
that,
calling for a vote on it.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do that now.
Yes?
So there is a motion to, go ahead.
Can you do those one at a time?
Take what?
Can you split those up into two different votes?
Sure.
And if I could also ask, where is the manager going back to, this year's budget, and pulling it out of this year's
It's
budget?
right beside you there.
My understanding is he's talking about doing this out of the '27 budget.
Yeah.
So depending on what y'all decide tonight, I would bring a budget amendment in July to take care of it.
Where would you pull that money from?
I would have to look at the conference and meeting and the travel line items in the commissioner's budget, more than likely is where it would need to come from.
Just say that again for me. That it would come from conference and meetings?
Yes,
It would come from the commissioner's budget?
yes.
Both?
And the travel line item. So conference and meeting is the line item that covers your registrations for various events. And then the travel covers the expenses of attending, such as hotels, per diems, and mileage.
Okay, just for clarity, if I could get some on that. You created this budget based on last year's expenditures, correct? Like you looked at last year's budgets, what we utilized, you projected what where we'd be this coming year, and you brought it as tightly as you could to provide this two items in those two line items, correct?
Yes, ma'am, based on guesswork, not knowing we have an
Sure.
NPC that's going to be filled. I know it's going to be at least one new person, knowing that we have at least one person that's going to need to go to new commissioner's school. Also leaving some, we have reduced it significantly. The 26 revised budget is $4,679 for conference and meeting and was $10,000 for travel. I reduced the 27 budget to $4,000 for conference and meeting registration and travel of $6,000. not knowing for sure what everybody's intent was going to be as far as travel goes. So I left enough in there to hopefully cover it. But if the board's intent is not to be traveling very much, then you could take the 5,000 between the two different line items. Split it evenly, 2,500 out of each,
Which would drop you down to 1,500?
and conference and meeting, and 2,500.
Well, then then you'd be down to 3,500.
Yes, 3,500, sorry.
And last year, what was our expenditure?
I don't have exactly what you spent this year, and I've shut my computer down.
It's okay, it's okay. We
It
can
would
pull,
not
we can,
fit that.
yeah.
But, or I can, I can go back, if the motions are approved, I can go back and see if there's other line items that we could possibly split it amongst, whether it be advertising, dues and subscriptions, there might be a little wiggle room there.
I wish they would hire a fundraiser like myself to raise money for them. That's what I do all day long. I raise money for nonprofits. It's a full-time job. All right, well, let's make the motion.
Okay, so, well, I asked him to split if he'd be so kind of split, and he said he would. So I think, let's do the helping hands first.
So there's a motion for $2,500 from the county budget, which would come at the manager's discretion, to be gifted to Helping Hands Clinic.
That would be the first one, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Motion passes. And the second? The second is similar, $2,500 for
OMI.
OMI, manager's.
Dave, how much should we give to them from that, how much should we give them for the initial seed money? What was that?
I couldn't hear your question.
How much was the initial seed money we gave them, the city gave, we gave?
Substantial.
Was it 350?
Yeah, 350,000?
Yeah, we put up 350 apiece. They tried to get us to assume that role, and our position was these are primarily city folks that we do want to help when we can, but not accept the obligation of a yearly appropriation. But yes, we did.
So we'll move forward with that motion. So all those in favor of $2,500 to OMI, say aye, please. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Opposed? So,
Can you do hands, please?
sure. Okay, so 4, and, thank you, and against.
Okay. Did he? Let's move.
Okay, thank you.
You need a motion for adjournment?
Yes, sir.
So-
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Please drive safely, wear your
Thank you.
seatbelts, no speeding.